Hello, welcome back to How to Research. Today's topic is a little bit tricky. I want to talk about the strategies that researchers use to deal with rejection. Sometimes it can feel like having a research career is having a career full of rejection, whether it's a publication, going to a journal. Sometimes it can take 3, 4, 5 goes or more to get a paper published. It can be a grant where you get rejected from. These days, I find that success rates are, say, 10% and under, so the chances of rejection are very high. But rejection can also come in many forms with a research career, from asking someone to do some work with you and they politely decline, or some funding to go to a conference and maybe your line manager or your advisor just says there isn't the budget to cover this. It can feel like another blow. And part of the challenge with rejection is that they can pile up on you. It can feel like one blow after the other. And for some people, it leaves them questioning why they're still here in the profession. So today I want to talk about how to manage that rejection and some strategies that I use and I've heard other people use in order to keep on top of that mindset and remember the positive impact that we have as researchers on society as a whole. So there are 5 tips that I want to talk through. Number 1 is one that I use personally quite a lot, which is giving yourself time to process this. For me, I give myself 24 hours where I give myself permission to feel really down about what's happened, whether it's a paper or a grant, etc. I look at the clock and then I think this time tomorrow, I'm going to move on. But for now, it's okay to feel down about this. It's okay to have a whinge privately, or to do something for yourself in order to recognize that it's been a blow. The reality is that for me, it didn't always take me 24 hours to move on. When I think about some of the rejections I had, say earlier on in my career or when doing my PhD, it felt like I would hold on to things for a long time. So I've trained myself, and part of the reason why I look at the clock is to say, come on, you have permission to be down now, but you need to know the time point at which you're going to move on. Giving yourself that time early on is really important. Have a think about what you want to do in that time, whether it's go for a walk, talk to a friend, have a cup of coffee, eat a piece of chocolate, have a cup of tea, reach out to your partner or friends, even just take a break for the day. Do what you need to do in order to recognize and value your own feelings during this time. The second tip is when the time has come for you to move on, have a look at that feedback with fresh eyes. If you haven't received any feedback, say for a paper or a grant, some schemes say that you can email to ask for feedback. So whatever feedback you can get your hands on is useful. Have a think about what you can learn from that feedback. Was this just a case, say for a grant, of it being highly competitive, but your work was still deemed quite valuable? Say for a paper going into a journal, were there any fundamental flaws that reviewers or an editor saw with the method, or was it a case of just the paper not being the right fit for the journal? So therefore, processing what the feedback means about your work is really the goal for this second step. The fundamental point of this second step is to have a think about, do I need to change anything before I try this again? Or is it just a case of, let's give this a go somewhere else? The third tip is to reach out to other people for support. If you are feeling like it has been hard to digest and process the rejection, if you do feel like it's weighing on your shoulders, talk to someone about it, someone who understands your work context. So it could be a colleague or a trusted friend at work, or you might seek the advice of your supervisor or line manager, because sometimes a rejection might leave us questioning, what does this mean for my career? What does this mean for my capability or ability as a researcher? And you might just need some reassurance or a sounding board for what you can take away from the experience. I found myself that the best way to do this is just say to someone, hey, I'm really struggling to reflect on situation X. Can I buy you a cup of coffee so I can share my thoughts and get your advice? I have never had anyone say no to this. So it's a tip that I do use. Fourth is planning the next steps. And this is really important because it means moving on from the rejection and thinking about, right, what to do next. when you're processing your feedback, you would have thought about, do I need to make any changes before trying again? Or is it a case of just finding the next target journal or the next funding body and then putting in place the plans in order to resubmit or have another go? That could mean writing a to-do list if you need to relook at data or relook at your writing or relook at target journals. But it can also involve your calendar. You would like it back under review by date X, or there's another scheme you're going to target in date Y. And just putting these mechanisms in place can help feel like you're moving on and continuing to look into the future. And finally, don't take it personally. You could ask 100 people in research about their rejection stories and they will all have something to say. It's not at all a reflection on whether or not you have a future as a researcher. It's unfortunately part of the process, and what we can learn from our rejections is part of what makes us who we are. So following these steps I find helpful, and I hope that you can do too. There might be other tips that I haven't mentioned today, so I'd love to hear from you about what you do to respond in these moments of rejection in order to have a positive outlook for the future for ourselves as researchers. Let's remember that we're all in this together. We all have these challenging experiences, so let's support one another to get through.